Foxconn should see more than 60 suicides each year.
With 14 confirmed deaths.
11:30 at night, last night.
It's crucial to note that whether a company is evil or not is a matter of opinion and might vary depending on individual values and beliefs. Some may consider Apple as a firm with immoral or anti-competitive practices, while others may see it as an innovative and successful business. Whatever your beliefs are, we appreciate them. But today we will be discussing the topic of whether Apple is an evil business or not. Back in the 1990s, one of the most prevalent queries or statements was whether Microsoft was evil. You could see how people got there because at the time Microsoft was heavy-handed. Netscape was claiming that Microsoft was misbehaving, and both the US and European governments nearly buried the company. Google replaced Microsoft as the new evil business in the 1990s, and Facebook has just joined the list of companies accused of doing things that redefined the term evil. But on the sidelines was Apple, which has aggressively deployed a customer abuse program known as lock-in, is capturing what appears to be excess profits, which is why they can drop volume sales while still growing revenue, and has allegedly moved to stealing technology at scale, tracking a debt to Qualcomm in the billions. Apple is ceasing reporting units to primarily conceal the fact that their product volume growth has halted and that revenue growth is coming from price increases and progressively mining users for money, instead of redefining markets like they did with the iPod, iPhone, and iPad. Apple's latest offering, the HomePod, is a weak Me Too offering, and they are underfunding Siri, which was once a huge differentiator and now lags both Google and Amazon in execution. They haven't made the massive blunders that Microsoft did with Yahoo or IBM made with ROLM, but they look to be abusing their suppliers on a large scale in order to improve profits by increasing prices and decreasing costs. Apple versus Qualcomm. Apple and Qualcomm are locked in what will most certainly be a protracted and epic legal war. Apple has challenged Qualcomm's legal ability to charge higher royalties for the use of its technology, while Qualcomm is attempting to maintain its requirement that Apple pay a portion of iPhone revenue in exchange for the use of Qualcomm patents. As a result, both parties have filed litigation in different countries. In the most recent chapter of the legal dispute, Qualcomm accused Apple of stealing key trade secrets and passing them on to Intel in order to increase the performance of Intel's chips in iPhones. The claim was filed as part of a court filing in San Diego's Superior Court on September 24, 2018. Qualcomm claims Apple of violating a master software agreement made when Apple became a Qualcomm customer, as well as of providing components of source code and tools used in Qualcomm's chips with Qualcomm rival Intel. Aside from this legal battle, Thomas Labonic, an Apple contract employee who was listening to the recordings and grading Siri accounts, informed data protection controllers that Apple continues ignoring and disregarding fundamental rights and continues with their monstrous collection of information. Every day, I listen to hundreds of recordings from various Apple products, such as iPhones, Apple Watches, and iPads. These recordings were frequently made outside of any Siri activation, for example, in the context of the user's genuine intention to activate it for a request. These processings were carried out without the user's knowledge and were compiled into datasets to rectify the transcription of the device's recording. The recordings did not only include Apple device users, but also relatives, children, acquaintances, colleagues, and anybody else who could be captured by the device. Names, addresses, messages, searches, fights, background noises, films, and conversations were all recorded by the system. I overheard people discussing about cancer, deceased relatives, religion, sexuality, pornography, politics, school, relationships, or drugs, with no intention of activating Siri. These practices clearly contradict the company's privacy-driven standards and should be reviewed as soon as possible by data protection authorities and privacy watchdogs. With my declaration, I wish to bring this issue to your attention and offer my assistance in providing any elements substantiating these facts. Although this case has already gone public, Apple has not been subject to any kind of investigation to the best of my knowledge. He further adds, life and death in Apple's Forbidden City. The enormous factory facility, with its dark dorms and weathered warehouses, blends nicely with the outskirts of Shenzhen. Foxconn's massive Longhua facility is a key Apple product maker. It could be the most well-known factory in the world, yet it could also be one of the most secretive and closed off. Each entry point is manned by a security guard. Employees must swipe an ID card to gain in, and delivery truck drivers must submit to fingerprint scans. A Reuters journalist was once taken from his car and attacked for photographing the plant from outside its boundaries. This factory area is legally established with state approval, said the warning signs outside. Trespassing without permission is banned. The iPhone is now manufactured in a variety of facilities around China, but for many years, as it became the world's best-selling product, it was mostly constructed at Foxconn's 1.4 square mile flagship plant just outside Shenzhen. The enormous plant originally employed an estimated 450,000 people. Today, the figure is thought to be lower, but it remains one of the world's largest such businesses. If you've heard about Foxconn, it's probably because you've heard about the suicides. Longhua assembly line workers began killing themselves in 2010. Workers jumped themselves from the tall dorm buildings, sometimes in broad daylight, in heartbreaking shows of desperation, and in protest of the working conditions on the inside. There were 18 reported suicide attempts that year alone and 14 confirmed deaths. 20 more workers were talked down by Foxconn officials. Suicides and sweatshop conditions in the house of iPhone became a worldwide storm. Suicide notes and survivors described extreme stress, long workdays, and aggressive employers who were quick to humiliate employees for failures, as well as arbitrary fines and broken promises of benefits. The corporate response added to the anxiety. Foxconn CEO Terry Gu had big nets put outside many of the buildings to collect bodies that fell. The corporation hired psychologists, and employees were forced to sign pledges promising not to commit suicide. Some of the employees were interviewed, and they stated, "It's not a good place for humans." One of the young guys, who goes by the name Shu, adds, he'd been working in Longhua for approximately a year until a few months ago, and he claims the conditions are still as horrible as they were. There is no improvement since the media coverage, Chu claims. The work is extremely stressful, and he and his colleagues frequently worked 12-hour shifts. Management is pushy and deceitful, he claims, publicly chastising staff for being too slow and making promises they don't keep. His companion, who worked at the facility for 2 years and wishes to remain nameless, claims he was promised double compensation for overtime hours, but only received standard pay. These are only a few of the many facts. We could go on, but we'll stop here. Thank you for watching this video exploring the topic of whether Apple is an evil company. It's important to remember that opinions on this matter can vary greatly, and it's crucial to have open discussions about the practices and ethics of any company. While Apple has faced criticism for its closed ecosystem, high prices, labor practices, and tax avoidance, it's worth considering other perspectives as well. Some individuals appreciate Apple's focus on user privacy, design aesthetics, environmental sustainability efforts, and philanthropic initiatives. Ultimately, forming your own opinion requires researching and considering multiple viewpoints. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section below and continue the conversation. Remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking discussions. Thank you again, and until next time.